Good morning, traders. It is Saturday, the 24th of January, 2026. For all you listeners up there in the Midwest of the United States, across the U.S. that are snowed in, sorry to hear that. Down here in beautiful, sunny South Tampa Bay area of Florida. Um, Worst I can say is that it was a little slow start to my sports car today, but I'll be heading to the beach to relax. I wish you could join me. Without further ado, this is the weekly performance summary for week ending 1/24, 2026. I'm your host, Jason Allen at netwinningtrader.com. And guys, it's my heavy heart and mixed emotions. I got to tell you this. For those of you that have been following my podcast, you know that I won't be doing the podcast anymore. I completed that on Friday, and I won't be posting that anymore. Same is true with my weekly performance summary. Had every intention of continuing through July to show you one full year performance on what I can do using the net winning trader protocols, which are a combination of my personal discipline and the algorithms that you can get at net winning trader anytime you want. All that is available to you as a lifetime member at netwinningtrader.com. And what does all that mean? Yes, I want you to buy a lifetime membership. Now, here's the problem is that, as I've mentioned in my broadcast before, what I offer is something incredibly unique. Nobody discusses it. And not only does nobody discuss it, even fewer people know how to use the data um, that's really out there to make money. That's why you have thousands of people trying to sell you information on how to win in this business. And most of them, you'd be surprised, don't even trade. They write programs or create beautiful, wonderful sounding analysis packages. And quite frankly, none of it works. And you know that if you've been trading for any length of time, that basically 99% of people out there are losing most of the time. And all the purveyors of information and education and training and charting and analysis are not doing any better. And most of it's all the same crap anyway. It's just in different colored boxes. It's all different colored crystal balls, and none of it ever works. And people are continually attracted to the markets every year, and they think they're going to win by doing the exact same thing that everybody else does with the exact same information that everybody else has. But it's going to be different with your account, right? Well, that's utter bullshit, and you'll figure that out if you haven't figured it out already. So what ends up happening is this is that people lose enough money that they get discouraged and quit and stop looking. Other people keep looking, but they keep looking in the wrong place. And like most fanatics, they think doubling their speed when they're on the wrong path is going to help them. So the fanatics out there who believe that studying the markets is the answer will go from simpler analysis to more complex analysis to even more complex analysis, thinking that there's some super secret way to manage this and continue to lose. Then there's people, hopefully like yourself, that small 1 to 5% of people that sit back and go, wait a minute, what is really happening here? Well, if you've done the homework and the research that I've done, and you can see what that is, looking at price charts now becomes a whole other experience. I want you to remember this before I go into my final performance summary. I want to just remind you of this. You and me, your typical average person, really wouldn't understand what a brain scan was all about, like an EKG or something. And you would look at that EKG summary, put three of them in front of you, and they're all going to look the same to you and me, relatively the same. So imagine you put three different markets, all with the 60-minute time frame price chart in front of you. They're all going to look basically the same, right? Um, However, a trained neurosurgeon can look at those EQGs and say, aha, the first one, that's somebody with schizophrenia. and look at the second one and go, that person is suffering from Alzheimer's, and that third one is a normal person, or what I'd say typically average. Now, you need the training of a neurosurgeon to figure out that information by looking at what you're looking at, right? Markets are the same way. You need to understand what's really happening. You need to have the training of what happens inside the market between the winner and the loser so you can look at a market price chart and say, ah, that market is confused. The second one, that's a confident market under trend. The last one is a market that's due to reverse. Now, you would never be able to do that without knowing what I know. And that's why I put it out there at netwinningtrader.com. It's because the data that you need to win is inside the market, but it's not the prices. It's understanding how the prices move and what those movements mean. And if you can't figure that out by yourself, you're going to run out of money before you figure it out. That I can pretty much assure you. Because most people are not looking for that information to begin with. They think analyzing price will present a prediction of where prices are going to go next. And that is absolutely 1000% not true. In fact, on a recent broadcast, I conclusively proved that all technical analysis is a fallacy based on a numerical, mathematical error to begin with. I'd love you to have that broadcast. It should be on NetWinning Trader by now. I gave Tony the links. So if that's not up there, we'll get it for you. Just ask for it. At the end of this broadcast, I'll have the contact information available for you again. That'll always be available. But let me go ahead and just go ahead and get to the last weekly performance summary for you, because this is what I wanted to know. I wanted to sum up my introduction by saying this. Look, you're going to get your head kicked in trying to figure out how to do this. If you're really serious, it costs nothing to look at the netwinningtrader.com website and do a little perusing. If anything I've said over the last 6 months in the weekly performance summary or in the last 6 months of daily Traders Discipline broadcast, if you've been listening regularly and that's resonating with you, then you need to follow that to a logical conclusion and start using the material that I use, because I'm telling you right now, you're never going to win if you think it's about charting the markets. It's not. What you want is to understand how the markets are constructed, how the winner and the loser compete, and when the loser's about ready to take his lumps. Once you understand that this game, trading, futures, options, Forex, trading zero-sum markets is about finding the loser and taking his money. That's what it's about. It's not about studying prices. So when you're ready to make that jump from studying prices to studying loser behavior, you're going to make yourself more successful when you do that. You're ready to make that move into how the winners think. So that being said, I'm going to leave you with that for my final weekly performance summary for this week. Here's the numbers. Closed trades, 4 of them. Losing pips, 119.9. Winning pips, 1.9. For total net gain or loss, 118 pips lost on the week. Closed trades. If you remember from week number 1, had a gain of several hundred pips. So we're still well ahead to start the year. Last week, week 2, was the week when I consolidated my accounts, made some changes, and upgraded my software. So I wasn't in the market for the week. So we had a blank week. This week, lost 118 on closed trades. However, on open trades, holding open trades, pounds nothing, euro nothing, yen, I'm short from the high with an open trade equity of 253.3 pips and nothing in Canada. So I have a total open trade equity of 253. I think yen is headed a lot lower, so we're going to go ahead and hold that position. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see my liquidation on that. So what I'm going to do right now is just go through charts real quick for the week, so you can kind of see what I see. And then I'm going to get my contact information for you so you can stay in touch. All right, here's pounds. You'll notice from last week when we weren't trading that we had a really nice opportunity for entry. Look at that. Beautiful buy signal at the bottom of the week on a Friday. Right there. And we would have added to it right here, but we didn't have it on. So the automation, the algorithms are working the sell side as the market rises. So here's our first entry, and that was a loss right at the same entry point. In other words, you'll notice I got stopped out on the bar before at a loss, 40 points, and the next signal came on the next bar right there. So here is another 40-point heater. So as this market rallied, I took two 40-point heaters in pounds. Now, the reason I showed you the buy signal on last Friday is I wanted you to understand this is the price agnostic method. This is what I teach at Net Winning Trader, is the understanding of it doesn't matter what the market does. It just matters that you're on the right side of it. You can't predict it. You're never going to be able to know what it is. So you just want to always be in the market on the right side if you can. Well, in this case, you would have gotten long last Friday. You would have had the opportunity to add to it as it consolidated this week on your add signals right here, right? And then the sell side would have came on in case it was all over. But it wasn't all over. So the losses that you had here would be overcome by having at least one position on, maybe two, as the market rallied into highs. So you would have made somewhere around 300 points on a one lot and given back 80. So you'd be up 220 points on the week in pounds if you were following the price agnostic method. Now, why don't people do this? Because in their tiny bird brains that they have, thinking that this is about studying markets, they believe it's all about figuring out what the market's going to do next. So they would be looking at all these prices going, what the market going to do next? And they got to figure that out. Because if they can figure that out and come up with a better point to get in, they've reduced the risk. But you can't reduce the risk, as I've talked about a million times before. The risk is the same on every trade at every point in time, at any time in history regarding fundamentals or technicals or lifetime this or that. It doesn't matter. The risk is always the same. It'll never change. The risk is you could be on the wrong side of the order flow. So if you're on the wrong side of the order flow, you lose. That's it. So the more you spend time trying to figure out what the market's going to do, the more likely it is you're going to make a mistake. Therefore, you're going to be on the wrong side of the order flow more often than not. That's why you lose net. That's why I win net. Because what I do is I don't care which way the market goes. I don't have an opinion. I'm price agnostic. I don't care what it does. I care which side I'm on. So I want to be on the right side. So that means I have to take every buy point because sooner or later that buy point's going to work. And I have to take every sell point because sooner or later that sell point's going to work. So between the two, I'm going to be on the right side of the market long enough and often enough to make more money than I give back on my losses. So that process is continuing day after day after day. So when we talk about how we started the year, the issue is now, did the win in pounds that we missed to start the year make a big difference in where we end up at the end of the year? And that's why you take every signal, no matter where it is or when it is. Always take a signal because you just never know. So, that being said, you would have been up about 220 points or more in pounds, but we're not. So we'll go ahead and move to the next slide. This is Euro right there, and it's the same story. Nice little sell point for reversal right there. But if we were to go back past Friday, you'd see the buy point. And of course, there was the add point. But in this case, we had enough of a move lower from the entry on the sell side to roll break even stop. So when the market rallied back to new highs, we didn't lose anything on the hook reversal short. So if you were long euro, you'd be up about 100, 150 points. But you're not, so there's nothing really to do there except pretend to count it, which is not fair, but it would have been a nice trade. So between pounds and euros, there's a couple hundred points we left on the table there, about 300 so far. Well, 350 maybe. All right, yen. This is the trade that worked. This trade right here, I think it's really interesting. Last Friday, we would have been long, right? Right about from there, without taking any heat, real heat. And then the latest buy signal came in just a hair lower. So that order was working for 24 hours, which is what it's supposed to do. And the reason it wasn't filled is because on this price action, the order is placed as a limit buy at the open +2. So that's the limit buy right there. If you can see me drawing it right there. So that X reversal limit buy order was placed, but the market rallied away and kept going. Um, so it never got filled. So 24 hours later, that's crossed off. And then the next sell happens here. In this case, at the close of the bar was the entry, and we never took any heat on it. Roll stopped at break even by the end of the day. And quite frankly, I never expected we'd be under 56 on a Friday. But as you can see, this blue line down here, that was previous support. Um, that's been pretty much hammered. Not even a retest. And we're 100 points lower than that. That pretty much says it's all over. I personally think yen, because of that, that's a little bit of a strong liquidating move. I think yen is probably headed another couple hundred lower. So I'm going to hold it. I don't think I'll get a chance to add to it. It's not trend lower. I think it's a liquidation move. It's what we call time compression, which is one of the things they talk about in net winning trader protocols too, is understanding time compression. But for right now, what you need to know about it is that there is definitely a lot of losers out there who still have to liquidate. So I don't think this is a trend. I think this is a liquidation move. So long liquidation move by the losing longs just hammers the market, and now everybody wants out, and they'll all get out at one time, and then I'll hammer it back to wherever we're headed. So that is yen, and I think down here we've still got a couple hundred more to go. So that's it on yen. Oh, CAD real quick. CAD, again, this is a textbook case of why using a systemized method can be so important. Textbook case of why using a qualified systematic method works. Last Friday on the close, the if we were trading the toolbox, the Pro Traders toolbox, my automated system would have been short basically from the high, right? And that's corresponding with this area right here of previous support and resistance, right? Right in there. So it went up into support and resistance, in this case resistance, and fell off and began trending lower. You had an opportunity to add to the position right here on the trend lower. And of course, by the end of the day, there would have been, this one broke my heart. I have to tell you, I really was not happy with having to take the week off last week. Not because I was on the move in yen is great, but this one is the one that hurt because this is textbook. I make this trade in my sleep. This is so easy. Short from a high, add to it as the market develops momentum, and hold for the move. It finished on the low for the week. This is a market that's got a lot of room to the downside to go. I'd have two positions on, and it'd be making some serious bank. So, been up. Well, if I would have had all the trades on, the yen, the euro, well, I've got the yen on. So if I would have had pounds, euro, and CAD working from last week into this week, it would have been another 750 pips profit open trade gain for the week. What a start to the year. I had 700 and change banked the first week, the nothing week two. This week, I'd be up almost 1,600 pips so far. 1,600 pips in the first 3 weeks of trading. You know, um, that's a great head start. But we didn't take it from last week because we were making changes that I think in the long run are going to actually make more money for me anyway. So um, I hate to just leave that money. I hated to leave that on the table this week, but it is what it is. The actual trade I did take, as you can probably guess, the H off the bottom did not work. Nice 40-point heater on the way to making nothing. So that's where the losses came from in Canada. So for those who want to keep it, here's my contact info. This contact, I'm going to leave this slide up. This is going to, these are always going to be good. You're always going to be able to reach me at JAJ, the Lion Online. You'll always be able to get me by phone. And then Net Winning Trader is going to be up. Tony's going to be, the webmaster still there. You can get him at support at netwinningtrader.com. So between me and Tony, we will keep you informed on changes and enhancements that we feel will help your trading when I have them. He's going to have them too. He actually trades. For those of you that don't know, here's another reason why Net Winning Trader is probably the smartest thing you could invest in. Tony, who helped me create it, is a customer. He got involved with my material in the 90s. He bought my original book, one of the first books I ever wrote, and the first set of materials that I produced for Winning Traders. He invested in that and has been a customer since then. He approached me years ago and said, look, we can take everything that you're doing. He's been following me for 20 years, more than 20 years. He said, we can take everything you're doing and package it into a winning format of education and training that will be far superior to anything that's out there. And I said, okay, let's do it. So we did it. And the material at netwinningtrader.com is far superior. Now, the look and feel, not so much. I'm sure we have not had people have not bought it because it site's kind of amateur looking sometimes. Depending on the page and all the rest. But I want you to look past that and just look at the material. In my estimation, you'll never find a more concise and pragmatic approach to winning than what we do. But in any case, because I tell people all the time, the battle for the money, it's in your mind. The markets are incidental. What the markets do, the price action, all the rest, you don't need to worry about any of that stuff. The battle is in your head. If you learn to manage what's going on in your brain, you'll make money doing this. And that's all that I do is manage what's going on in my head more so than what's going on in the market. I've taken what I've learned and turned it into algorithmic signals that you can use if you want. I'll give them to you. It's part of what you buy when you get Net Winning Trader. But you don't have to. You can use your own stuff, invent your own issue, your edge, the way you invent it. There's a way to use the protocols at netwinningtrader.com to fine-tune that edge and keep you in that game, because it's really about what goes on in your head. So if you're interested in learning how to do that, you're interested in staying in touch with what I'm up to, then I'll make sure if you're on my database, you'll get the help you need. We'll send it to you. When I got a new book or new broadcast or something recorded, you'll get a notice that it's available. If you buy netwinningtrader.com and you have a lifetime membership, anytime I do anything, you'll get that free. It'll just be added to the bulk of what's out there. Tony's going to put together some more material of his own. He's going to put demonstrations of his own trading up there, showing you how using the Net Winning Trader method of thought changed what he does. And he's a trader, is a customer. You got on guys that are not members for what we do. I just can't understand why you wouldn't look at this, because it makes no sense to keep losing thinking that you're going to figure this out using the same tools that every loser uses and doing the exact same thing that every other loser uses and does. How do you think? Why is it going to be different with you? I've talked to guys all the time. Well, I've discovered that pointing fingers is the real issue, and I've been using that for a couple of years now, and I'm really making progress. That's a great way to say my losses are smaller than they were. What difference does that make? You know what I mean? It's not going to work for you, man. It doesn't work for anybody. But that's another issue. I get very frustrated sometimes as an individual when I see people that want help and when offered it, they just won't take it. I don't understand that. People that want help and take it, my God, those guys, they change their lives. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Why do you think I did this? Let me ask you a question. Why do you think I put my protocols and information out there and took time to put my performance out every week and record a broadcast of education and training every day? Why do you think I did that? For my health? No. I did that because I know what works. I really do. And I'm not that far away from getting what I want. And I've told you guys before, on my desk is a picture of me standing on a beach in Grand Cayman Island on a piece of property that I'm going to get. I'm getting closer every day. I'm not too far away. And that's part of the reason why I'm closing up shop on education and letting Tony run with the ball. Listen, you don't need me really to do this other than think through what I've said. Aside from that, all the rest of this, look, man, I tried finding customers. I can't do it. You guys are, the customers that came to the door, it's the top 1 to 5% anyway. So the top 1 to 5% of people become active with my stuff. There's not enough of you guys to make a business out of this in terms of my time. In terms of money, sure, you know, but in terms of my time, no. I'm going to go work 110% now doing what I know how to do for the exact reason of saying, look, man, I'm in my mid 60s now. I am done. It's my turn and my time to do what I want, and I got to stop investing time in finding customers because, quite frankly, you guys are far and few between. I couldn't find enough of you, enough of the guys that want to be a part of this. So, uh, we'll all get a chance. Those that are staying on the wagon here, we'll all get a chance to meet on that perfect beach. I'm telling you, it's a real thing for real people. If you want to reach your goals, you know what they are, and you've had them in your hand and felt what it feels like, and you're there, and you know what you want. When you've done that, you can get it from the markets. You can, and I think what all this really boils down to is that Providence, the universe, God, the Creator, whatever you want to call him, he wants purity out of what I do. He wants me to do it at 110%. He doesn't want me to sit on that beach knowing that the money came from telling people how to do this. He wants me to sit on that beach knowing that every dollar earned was because I did it. He wants excellence, priority. He doesn't want me to get it secondhand. He doesn't want me to end up like a guy like Jake Bernstein. No offense, Jake, but when's the last time you pulled the trigger? All you do is tell people how this works and sell books. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to be the guy who pulled it out of the markets for doing what he does. And I've been doing that forever and reinvesting it all back into other stuff. And I'm like, you know what? No, I get it now. I get it. I've done my bit to help other traders. For those of you that follow along, thank you. For those of you that aren't sure, you really need to take me seriously. And for those of you that are the critics or the don't want to be's or I just don't get it or I think it's crap or whatever, fine, goodbye. You never see me again. And when I have that opportunity, to do the final thing, to retire to where I want to and do what I want on that beach, you're all invited. So come find me. Bring your own babe. I'll get the cooler full of Heinekens, and I'll see you then. Good luck, good trading, guys. Pleasure to work with you when I could, and now it's time to move on. Later.